Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'll be your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, panelists Brad Ellis.
Hi.
Ian Hank.
Hi.
And my joyous and jolly co-moderator, Mr. Daniel Bloodworth.
Hello.
Distinguished guests, we are here to talk about some of the biggest news in the world of video games this week. But before we do that, we must answer for all of the mistakes we made last week. Ian, no. No, Ian. No.
No.
Bloodworth, begin corrections music, please. Boop. Got excited there. Sorry, Ian.
I won't do anything.
Just used to that. Got quite a bit of corrections. It was a long podcast. We talked about a lot of Game Awards stuff, so some clarifications. The first No Man's Sky update was the Foundation update. Next was one of the latest ones that they've done. That infamous Cyberpunk trailer came out in 2013, but the title reveal was on October 19th, 2012. I was linked to an Arc lore wiki page. I completely retract my no lore argument. It's technically the Datadyne logo. It's not the Perfect Dark logo. It's the logo of the Datadyne Corporation, which is pretty cool. The Datadyne's in it. Last of Us Part 2 won 7 Game Awards, not 6. I skipped over Action Adventure. Last of Us Part 2 has a 93 on Metacritic. I said the reviews were, quote, up and down. That's clearly wrong. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is a completely new game, not just with callbacks to older entries. It's not a remaster. The Mass Effect director, quote, showed both of them intentionally and for a reason regarding Andromeda. So Blood was like, is that Andromeda stuff that we saw in the trailer? It was. It was a mass relay, specifically.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, the mass relay is a separate thing.
Mass relay's all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Right.
But the
Andromeda Galaxy, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I corrected myself and I was wrong with my correction.
Right. Still a correction.
You gotta believe in yourself.
Square Enix showed 3 minutes of Near Replicant at TGS, so ignore that Jeff Keighley Game Awards premiere nonsense. The Callisto Protocol definitely takes place in the PUBG universe. Not sure exactly how yet. We did get a red band version of that trailer today, which I have not seen.
Yeah, it's apparently hundreds of years in the future or something like that.
Lots of people agreed with you, Blood, on your blind playthrough assertion. I mistyped the word sponsors by adding a random V at the end. One commenter suggested that Atomos was the Final Fantasy V villain that ended your Final Fantasy V playthrough. End corrections music, please.
Oh, that's me.
I was like, you're taking a mug, drink out of your mug.
Hey, however you want to
end it. It came out of nowhere. It was like, there's the end.
And I got, I haven't had a lot of these since I took over this podcast, but I got a beef with the comments that I would like to correct just because they were coming at me by saying that we were a bit of hypocrites by saying that we liked the Perfect, or at least I said I liked the Perfect Dark trailer, but I was confused by what BioWare was doing with Mass Effect. And they were like, same thing. CG trailer, you say you hate those behind the scenes talky videos. So let's clarify. First time we saw the new Dragon Age, we saw a trailer that meant absolutely nothing to me. It was a picture of a wall and a title.
Rock. Yeah.
Right. Then the second thing we saw was a developer video that had some screenshots but no new footage. The first thing that we saw of Mass Effect now is a trailer that, for somebody who's kind of interested in the series, doesn't mean a lot to me. The first time we saw Perfect Dark from a brand new studio, we saw that studio explaining that they were a brand new studio, explaining what you can expect from the studio that hasn't made anything, and also showed a trailer. So I think that's better than both. I think that's...
Also, you just like Perfect Dark.
Yeah. I also dig Perfect Dark.
Yeah, you have to catch up on Mass Effect. That's a thing. But also, I think people pointed out, and we already... I think, at least I had talked about this before, is, the trailer wasn't really an announcement. We already knew that Mass Effect would continue. They had talked about that not too long ago. And so to just say it will continue, but not to actually stamp down, this is the game that we're making. It just sort of feels like it will continue, okay, as,
Right.
In what form? We're gonna get more books. We're gonna get more Netflix animation.
I once again refute that, though. I think that the general populace watching Game Awards did not know definitively that Mass Effect would continue.
Definitively is a good label to put on there. I do want to say all of the joy that I'm seeing around the world from people stoked about Dragon Age, stoked about Mass Effect, stoked about BioWare.
There's a lot more in that Mass Effect trailer than I realized. Yeah,
there's a lot going on. I want that to happen. But when you start coming at me with advertising, that's why I'm going to fight back just a little bit. Let's turn things around. Let's turn that frown upside down with a nice silver lining from Next Gen Half. I asked our patrons at the $5 and above level to let me know something that they thought was wonderful, something that could make us smile from the gaming industry. It's a month late, but we all deserve a good laugh these holidays, and Crusader Kings 3 had some amazing patch notes. Most recently, for their Create a Ruler update in November, here are just a few. The Cucumber King is no longer unintentionally a Kingslayer due to the wrongly assigned father. Ugly characters look more ugly, to a reasonable extent, by distorting facial features more than before.
Good.
Intelligent women no longer confront their pregnant lesbian lover to ask if they are the father of the child. Stupid women, however, still have a chance to ask that question.
Wow.
Physicians can now treat themselves, and they're also more likely to mess up your treatment if they're trying to murder you. You can no longer mistake your infant child for a serial killer. Couldn't make it through that one. I have yet to make that mistake.
Hey, I've seen plenty of that movie.
You cannot confide in friends you do not have. You will no longer call people vile as a friendly greeting. You will no longer think of your angry spouse as your vassal. And finally, your spy master will no longer fabricate a secret about themselves.
What a game, dude.
What a
I gotta
game.
jump
Wow.
back in. I gotta
Those
jump back in.
updates.
What a game.
Did
Not an
they-
easy game to jump into. You just don't jump into that. That's
Did
it.
they make homosexuality more robust? Because when I was testing it out as a preview, I set the settings to like 90% gay, so like everyone was gay, but you couldn't have gay marriages.
Wait,
Literally what I did was I just made everyone super unhappy and have to be like shackled to people to continue these monarchies and patriarchies and stuff.
Yeah, what if the patch note just said more robust homosexuality? And you're like, all right.
The dream.
Oh.
Yeah, we made it. November NPDs. I don't have Huber. I'm gonna have to kind of just filter
I
this
love
through
NPDs
Brad
too.
We
to
all
Huber.
love
Yeah.
NPDs.
Yeah, we all
I don't know
love
why
NPDs. Not just
Huber-
Huber Jones.
Why does Huber get
in
all
the
the
comments
credit?
still like NPDs. Some people, whenever I talk about stats, people are like,
Too
You
bad,
can
dudes.
suck a lemon. Numbers
it's-
are marvelous.
it's also the end of the year. And I don't know if you guys caught wind of this, but we had some new consoles coming out in November. The thing is, there's a couple stuff on this list that we already know. We know PlayStation kicked ass. We know Nintendo kicked ass. But it's fun to review this, and there are some questions, some stuff that I specifically want to bring up. Video game content, including physical and digital, full game, DLC, microtransactions, and subscriptions make up the following numbers. Spending across all of the crazy video game stuff reached a November record, of course it did, of $7 billion, 35% up over 2019. Year to date, January to November is 44 billion. So it's 7 billion of that 44. That's
Wow.
22% higher than 2019 by this point. Hardware reached a November record of 1.4 billion, up 58%. Year to date is 4 billion, 34% higher than 2019. PS5, as we have previously stated, has the highest launch month unit dollar sales for any hardware in US history. Beat the PS4 in November 2013, but it doesn't matter because the Switch still beat it, having a record 24 consecutive months as the top-selling console in the United States. I wonder what those numbers would have looked like if Sony had met demands. Would that, I mean, obviously they did as much as they possibly could have, but like, how much do you think those numbers would have spiked if everybody could get a PS5?
I have no idea. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no
the
idea.
issue when things are, capped like that. When everybody that wants one has bought one is like, well, how many people are left? Don't really know.
To me, those numbers are kind of already astronomical because like I'm seeing a lot of resentment online. It reminds me of the Switch, reminds me of the Wii first launch. Like people just cannot get these things.
Yeah.
And, it's one thing, obviously, if these numbers, talk about how popular PS5 still is, they talk about how, much demand, has been constrained this year. But if people had, and those numbers not only would have been the best launch of all time, but like maybe double what the best launch ever was. Like, wow, is that where we are with video games? Where like a new gen is that exciting?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that you said, that like this is the highest launch of anything. Not just beating PS4, but PS4 was the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
7 years ago.
yeah, so it's really funny because people talk like, oh, Sony like manufacturing shortages, and like it's the most anybody's ever done.
Right.
Like, it hasn't been better than this.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just shows how crazy the demand is actually out there.
what was the best-selling game of November 2020?
November. Call of Duty?
Oh, yeah.
Call
Oh,
of
yeah.
Duty
Yeah.
is what I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Call of Duty.
I was thinking Assassin's Creed might have taken it since they were talking about it setting records, but
Where do you think Assassin's Creed is, Bled?
I'll say 2 or 3 at this point.
Yeah.
2 or 3? What is the spread
Okay, 2.
you're doing? There we go. It is 2. Good guess. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War was the best-selling game. Best-selling of 2020 year-to-date. 13-year Call of Duty record for winning their launch month. It's just it's just what they do.
Good lord.
And yeah, it's the best-selling of 2020, like instantaneously. Just like all these games
crazy.
that have
Wow.
had months and months and months. Animal Crossing, like we're still selling. COD's like, get the hell out of the way. I'm COD. What was number 3?
Number 3.
Yeah, we were just talking about that PlayStation. They had a good month.
Oh,
Spider-Man.
Souls?
Miles Morales was number 3,
Yeah.
second on PlayStation consoles, second highest among PlayStation superhero games behind the original Spider-Man, which makes sense. That's not like terribly surprising. But boy, is that series on track to just completely dominate forever. How many Spider-Man games are they going to make? If Miles
How
Morales
many?
is its own separate game.
How many Ratchet and Clank games have they made, Jones?
Before Insomniac just find out there's no other characters. We're gonna have to reboot it at this point. We're done. How many are we looking at?
Lots.
They got at least 5, I would say.
Well, Insomniac will make at least like 3 or 4 more, and then they'll get bored, and then Sony will like give it to somebody else, and they'll keep doing it.
They'll just reboot it like they did Ratchet.
Yeah.
Spice it up.
Maybe we'll make a Spider-Man movie. That would be exciting. And then make a game based on that Spider-Man movie. Mm-hmm. This is fascinating. I want to get to the rest of that list, but I do want to bring up that Just Dance was number 13 on the list. Second highest sales in franchise history.
Whoa.
Behind Just Dance 3 in October of 2011, 9 years ago.
Wow.
People are ready to dance this year.
People are super ready to dance. People are not going to wait to pick that game up on whatever their console of choice is. So my question to the panel is, if you're Call of Duty, Just Dance, or the Nintendo Switch, why show up to work tomorrow? What do you do? What's your projection for 2021? How do you
More.
And I know we've been
That's
talking
big
about
business.
Switch already,
More.
but like specifically with COD.
Skins.
Blood, I remember, you and I both read Huber's COD review before that went up, and I remember him saying, like, it feels a little unnecessary this year because there's so much going on in the world of Call of Duty. It feels kind of necessary looking at these numbers, or it panned out for them. That was a good decision that they were going to make another Call of Duty. 4 Call of Duties, I believe. Modern Warfare still performing. And, we got Black Ops, so we have mobile, and we have Warzone. All of those things are ticking at the same time. But even just this brand new, with all 3 of those things going on, people are still hungry for that new Call of Duty.
Yep.
Which I know is not the most exciting conversation to have on the podcast, because it seems like what we talk about, it's in the middle of every December. But I wonder how you strategize, being in charge of any of these franchises when it just seems like you can do no wrong.
The funny thing is sometimes it feels like with Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed that the sales numbers actually don't reflect the game that's being sold. They reflect the game before it. And so I feel like, that kind of happened with Unity and Syndicate, right? Like people loved like Black Flag, a whole bunch of people bought Unity. Unity was full of bugs. People were trashing on it. And then not that many people bought Syndicate. And I feel kind of like the sort of same thing happens, with Call of Duty, where like everyone's loving, last year's game, and so they pick this up, and then they're like, well, they just like phoned it in this year, so now like what's next year gonna look like?
Sure.
We won't know necessarily how people react to this game until next year's sales, and if they're up or down in comparison. And I also think that some of that has to do with next gen on all fronts, like next gen, sports, racing, and Call of Duty games. Basically, they have fewer features because they have to build this thing for next gen, and they're spending so much of their time on that. Whereas the next game around, they'll probably be a little bit more robust and they'll have some new ideas. And then I also think just like a lot of people are who maybe have even checked out of Call of Duty for a while, hey, I've got a new console. I want to see what Call of Duty looks like on it, and they go for that.
Me.
Yeah.
That was me.
Nice. It's interesting you talk about the volatility potentially of the Assassin's Creed community. It just doesn't seem like that's happening in the Call of Duty community. It doesn't seem like up or down, good or bad, good review scores, bad review scores, new gen, old gen. This is just a franchise that's absolutely going to dominate every year. Black Ops Cold War became the #1 best-selling game of 2020 year to date. Guess what number 2 is? Year to date. January
Year
to
to date's
now.
got to be Animal Crossing, right?
Nope.
No?
Mario Kart.
Nope.
GTA 5 again.
Cyberpunk.
Call of
FIFA?
Duty Modern Warfare.
Oh,
Oh yeah, Cyberpunk.
can't stop them, dude.
Which is like, it's like how the Spider-Man sales skyrocketed before Miles Morales came out.
Yeah.
Before the Spider-Man Remastered came out, people were just buying the old Spider-Man on PlayStation 4 because it's just, people sometimes you just can't take it. Like you'll crack out that old game. I bought like Mad Max on Steam. I was like, what am I doing? It's just like, I just have to play this game right now. I already own this game. And it's just like, curious to see what it looks like on PC. It was on sale. Animal Crossing is number 3. Madden, you guessed, was number 4.
Who guessed that?
Somebody said Madden?
I said
you
Madden.
said
No, I said FIFA.
you
Sorry.
said FIFA. Sorry, FIFA's actually not in the top 10.
FIFA.
Let's get back to
This is North American sales, remember?
November. Correct.
Yeah.
Madden is number 4 on the top list. NBA 2K21 is number 5, just to save you that discomfort of not knowing what fills in those spaces. What's number 6?
Hyrule
A new
Warriors?
entry. Yippee!
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, number 6.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, this game did well.
Which brings me back to that Nintendo conversation where I saw a lot of conversations. We were having this, I'm sure it came up on Friend Code on occasion of like, here we go towards Q4. It seems like all that is happening on the Switch that's really worth talking about, aside from, they get new Super Nintendo games, and we just had an Indie World Showcase. There's, Spelunky 1 and 2 are coming. Like, there's reasons to be excited. But it's Hyrule Warriors and Pikmin 3 were like the tent poles. And that is more than enough.
Yep.
More than enough to beat a next-gen console.
Yep, they're just fine.
Yeah. So should we stop saying that? Before we do Nintendo reactions, should we just not do a pre-show? Because it just doesn't matter. What we have to criticize or speculate about. Crazy.
I mean, Nintendo's doing their thing,
At least, on
There's-
Switch right now, in the Switch era.
Yeah, I think it does show that, it's good for Nintendo to take their time with their games, and especially in light of everything else that's going on, and the struggles that Cyberpunk is going through. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good thing that Nintendo is just not talking about what they're working on right now. Until they're confident it can be ready. And I was talking with Ben about some of this stuff the other day. It's like we still really don't have a firm grasp on the impact this year has had, and having people work from home on some of these big games. It's like any game that comes out that isn't a Cyberpunk level like mess is kind of amazing. Because you think about something like that, you have your team working for years on this really ambitious project, and then in the final hours, like, your entire team structure gets split up and jumbled, and you have to figure everything out. And I think a lot of that may have to do with like why Halo Infinite is delayed a year. It's not just because it's like, oh, let's really make this right. It's like, hey, let's get everyone back in the office. Let's
Maybe?
get back together and like actually be able to work together and like work all of these kinks out in a way that's a little bit more solid than splintered and working from home.
It feels
And I
like
think
all
in
of our
Japan, that's even-
lives
Sorry.
have been delayed a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything was put on pause.
It's just like, yeah, everything just a year later. It's fine.
What I admittedly was not thinking about Xbox when I was looking at the NPDs, but one thing I'm not looking at in this top 20 is an Xbox exclusive. How much do you think Halo Infinite would have put a dent, regardless of quality? I'm not talking about the Halo Infinite that we saw, the best Halo Infinite you can possibly imagine. How much do you think that would have moved the needle at this launch for consoles?
Well, they sold through all Xbox Series X units, right? Anyway, so
Allegedly,
Did they?
yeah.
yeah, I thought so. So like, they would have sold copies of Halo Infinite, but otherwise it wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
But
But
Well,
when it
again,
Game
Halo
Pass,
Infinite is on
on PC, but
old Xbox as well too, so
Right.
it would have sold
It
a
might have-
lot.
might have sold. Yeah, they'd sell a lot of Halo Infinite, but as far as console sales, it couldn't have changed the next gen ones because they all sold.
You think all this Cyberpunk Xbox One hate is causing them to maybe rethink that Xbox One strategy for Infinite? Especially if they're going to, a year from now, there's probably a lot more people that are going to be owning Series X's. I don't know.
I mean, Cyberpunk should not have put that out on PS4 or Xbox One.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
we said that
sure.
last week, and we'll be saying that again this week.
Like,
But it's just it's a great point, which is you really have to evaluate. I think we are really in there really is a trend now of companies being like, we do such irreparable damage to our brand, and in the case of Xbox, that brand is the console also. If we rush these things out before they're ready. Something like Assassin's Creed, I don't think, because they're like, hey, we'll be back next year, or at the worst, we'll take 2 years off, and then that's worked out for them very well.
I really hope that Cyberpunk and other countless past examples start to make the business people understand that, because I've heard so many horror stories of developer friends and stuff where a game is not ready but is rushed out to hit a fiscal year for like arbitrary like stock price reasons, you know? And it's like, it's such short-term thinking, which it seems like humans are great at anyway, but like, yeah, I want that lesson to be hammered home. It's like, look, don't announce your shit too early, don't release it all buggy, it'll be better for everyone in the long run, including your damn stock price. Like, yeah.
But I think, judging by the success that the Switch is having, I think Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4 are like in an okay spot if they just shut up. If they like don't do anything until you are totally ready to go. I think
that's typically more Nintendo's style, right? Yeah. Like things that they release aren't nearly as buggy as your Cyberpunks or your
like there were some minor frame rate issues with Breath of the Wild that they had to clean up, but
like my Link didn't T-pose on top of a horse and then like
But hard to tell in Cyberpunk. It's like maybe just maybe they're
that's just what that
their
guy's
modifications that aren't working out. They themselves humans have glitches too. But yeah, I just think Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4 have bought themselves a long development time. Because it's just hard to argue. Anytime I'm like, hey, the Switch needs this, it does not. It very much doesn't.
Does
There's
not.
a crossover and a remaster, and they are pushing this console to destroy every other console that people are trying to make. Hey, Brad, what's number 10?
Number 10? Demon Souls?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking better be.
Nice.
Number 10, beating Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at number 11.
Aha! We got him.
That's really impressive, though, because that's the
PS5
market, like
only
the PS5 only game, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your beloved FIFA 21 dropped from number 1 to number 9, and Animal Crossing is at number 8, which is great. Again, yay Switch. Number 7 actually kind of surprised me. What's at number 7? Big game. Didn't come out. It was I'm sorry, it was number 8. No, it was number 7. It was number 3 the month prior.
Watch Dogs?
Don't actually recall. Watch Dogs Legion.
Oh.
Still in the top 10. Go Watch Dogs.
That's good. I thought that game was basically gonna die once Assassin's Creed came out.
I completely forgot about that game.
Right. Immortals is not in the top 20 as people are. Yeah.
Well, Immortals came out.
It came out
after this
early December
cycle, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, was that a December game? Okay.
Yeah.
Curious to see the sales comparison if Immortals will put a dent into that. But and we also have we're still waiting on more info for the the online mode that's coming to Watch Dogs Legion. So I'm excited about that. Again, it's just Ubisoft doesn't need more open world money for more outstanding. I'm very much enjoying Valhalla, and I enjoyed Watch Dogs Legion, and I'm enjoying Immortals almost simultaneously, all three of those games.
What a time for you to be alive.
I know.
But you're not playing Tsushima.
Have you even tried Cyberpunk yet?
That's why I'm rushing through Valhalla, Brad, so I can get to Tsushima. Tsushima is my absolute relaxing, just vacation game. That's when I am officially on vacation, which I believe begins Monday right after Cup of Jones. It's Tsushima time.
I don't think I get a vacation.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what makes me happy. I'll tell you what's the dream for me. Number 18, a game I cannot believe is in the top 20 of November. Cannot believe that after all of the negativity surrounding this game, enough people kept buying it and kept spending money on it.
Fallout?
Mario 3D All-Stars.
3D All-Stars?
Even more vitriol than that. This is an easy game to make fun of.
The hatred around Cyberpunk has erased all other games from my memory.
Yeah.
But it's not Fallout 76.
No. Came out later than that. This was something that was supposed to go well this year.
Anthem?
You're getting there. You're
Are we getting there? Was that this year? I don't remember. No, that was last year,
made.
right?
That was last year.
Comparisons have been made
Whatever.
between Anthem and if Anthem.
Avengers.
Destiny?
There it is.
Oh, Avengers.
Yeah.
I forgot that game existed.
Same.
All the people that kept it at number 18. It was number 14 last week, but still holding on.
Still
Marvel's
going.
Avengers is number 9 on the year-to-date list.
Wow.
Yeah, beating out Mario 3D All-Stars. Final
Marvel
Fantasy VII
bucks.
Remake, just ahead of it at number 8. Valhalla, just popping onto that list at number 7, sold very well. Tsushima beat Valhalla, Brad. So there you
Wow.
go. That's how I should set my priorities. And Tsushima is number 20 on the list from
Nice.
last month, so
Still going.
sold
And
well.
that's PlayStation only, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
And everything else is Nintendo. Mario Kart at number 11. Super Mario 3D All-Stars at number 12. Mario Wii U Deluxe New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe at number 14. Luigi's Mansion 3 at 15. Mario Kart
Nice.
Live Home Circuit at 16. Super
Wow.
Smash Brothers Ultimate at 17. Why make new games? Why even?
Why I'm having new ideas.
Why even?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are all fantastic games. I can't believe they are still.
Are we ever gonna get a Mario Kart 9? Like,
I think so.
there
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
eventually, but
could be forever from now.
it'll be the last game that is ever released.
that's the
on
thing-
the Nintendo
Yeah.
Switch.
That's the Splatoon team, right? They alternate.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. You tell me, Blood.
Yeah, you're the one. Who
You're the one that
knows
works
things.
there.
Yeah. I'm also going to lean on you, Blood, for this next story, which we have talked about, but it did come up again this week because Take-Two was like, hey, we're going to buy Codemasters. And then EA was like, hey, actually, we're going to buy Codemasters. Take-Two pitched
and
a
then Devolver
paltry-
was like, hey, we haven't put an offer in.
Yeah. I love Devolver. I thought, Devolver, I don't play any of your games, but I love you so much. Take-Two was like, hey, Codemasters, we'll buy you for $870 million, which if I've said it once, I've said it a million times, is not a lot of money.
Right.
EA comes along with 1.2 bill.
Starting to get
Codemasters.
there.
Bloodworth, are you comfortable with me sharing the sentiment that you shared with us via Slack when this news dropped? That EA,
Oh, sure. I mean, I did put out some tweets too, but
quote, please no. Explain yourself, Bloodworth.
I mean, it's EA. You know, they are famous for bringing in studios and then either, running them into the ground and then shutting them down lately or later, or, having them just, become kind of something where they just pump out, things that EA was already making. And so it's, yeah, and like, you look at Westwood, you look at Maxis, you look at, Visceral was like an internal EA studio, but, yeah, just like all of these different companies, it's like, I feel like Respawn and DICE are the only ones that are like actually like doing what they would probably already be doing. And like Criterion, EA brought them in and they had published Burnout, and then Criterion was like, hey, let's try out Need for Speed. And then EA was basically like, hey, Need for Speed, or Burnout's never going to make Need for Speed money, so just keep making Need for Speed. And then this weird thing happened with Ghost Games, and now Criterion is getting Need for Speed back, and it's all craziness. But it just feels like, yeah, it feels strange to me because EA is like, we're all about racing games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, okay, well, where's all the other racing games that there used to be under the EA banner? So it's like, I feel like a lot of this comes down to, the licenses, F1 license, and they just got, Codemasters recently just got the WRC license, which won't take effect for a couple more years, but yeah, so it's, it's weird, and Codemasters also has been, buying studios, so essentially like Codemasters went around and got all of these other UK studios under their wing, and now EA just like scoops it all up, at the end. because the guys that made Drive Club, Sony had shut them down, and then Codemasters came in and basically like kept the studio together to a degree after Onrush. Some of those people have departed, and then they got Slightly Mad recently. So Project Cars is also under their banner.
Slightly Mad, the studio.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so it's strange because it's like, what is actually gonna end up happening, And I just I definitely prefer to have more great independent studios, and particularly those UK racing studios. There were a lot of them at one point, and now it's like getting smaller and smaller and smaller as these mergers have happened over the years. So it's kind of like, it feels like we're limited now to Codemasters and Playground Games, and Playground Games is now part of Microsoft, and Codemasters, if this deal goes through, will be part of EA.
It's interesting you mentioned WRC. Is that that probably doesn't make F1 money, but does that do well for itself?
I have not been really tuned into the WRC games. They've been trying to get me to play WRC 9. They keep talking me about it. It's like, I got it downloaded. I don't know when. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's an official, just kind of like how they have Milestone makes all these motorcycle games, for Monster Energy and MXGP and all this kind of stuff. It's like,
okay,
having something that's like tied officially to a sport, like it goes into a lot of extra sponsorships and potential out there. So we still don't know what Codemasters will end up doing with that license, whether they will, basically sunset Dirt, or whether, WRC will be a thing for the hardcore rally people and Dirt will be a thing for the more arcade people, but now with EA in the mix, it's like it even puts more questions on that.
I used to have a soft spot for MX versus ATV. Every time I see a new one of those, I'm like, oh, no. Yeah, if this goes through...
That's a whole different thing.
Whose thing is that? I don't know.
I want to say the developers are here in California, and they bounced around to different publishers. I'm not sure I know who they're with at the moment.
If this goes through, EA will own Need for Speed, Burnout, F1, Dirt, Grid, Project Cars, and Blood out of WRC. I have a feeling that Burnout, Dirt, Grid, Project Cars, and WRC can't even make half of just what Need for Speed and F1 is going to make. So yeah, I think there is, from as little as I know Blood, I think there's a real danger of them just being like, why bother? Like let's really just put all of our...
F1 is doing particularly well.
And growing,
this year, yeah.
And I've seen people say that it's gotten bigger in the esports community, which I did not know.
Yeah.
Isn't there among actual drivers? Because a lot of events got canceled, and so you have a lot of drivers like, well, wasn't that guy cheated at F1?
Got cheated,
Some guy who's like, oh, my camera's not working.
Had somebody else play for him?
Oh my god.
Those are the kind of scandals that EA, that smells like money.
How do monopoly laws work? Because didn't Facebook, there was something like, how many companies can EA and Microsoft and these guys buy before it starts becoming a problem?
How are we going to know?
You'd have
unless
to be
EA
limited
is going
to
to break the rules.
I mean, look at just how few internet providers there are, and that doesn't even...
I can only get damn Spectrum.
Right.
Damn you, Spectrum.
Right. But I'm just saying that, like, you would have to have...
Yeah.
It'd have to be, like...
They would have to, I think you have to own, like, the means of production, the means of distribution, and the means of sale. Like, because that's what happened to the movie theaters in the 50s or whatever, 40s. So, yeah, maybe if they just buy up game companies, it's fine. Yeah, It's
like EA, Activision, and Rockstar would all have to merge and then get bought by Sony or something,
And then they'd have to buy Steam, and then they'd have to... Yeah.
I was curious to look up the top-selling racing franchises of all time, and there were only, technically 4, but really 3 that I recognized that EA won't own. One of them is Mario Kart,
right?
Which I don't see that happening in the future. I also don't see Gran Turismo happening for them acquiring that, because that is a Sony darling, but we certainly don't get a lot of those at a quick pace. And then, of course, there's Forza, which obviously is not something that Microsoft's going to get rid of. And then Driver was like the next.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just in terms of franchise sales, just in terms of overtime. Doesn't mean one of those particular games sold incredibly well, but there have been a lot of Driver games over the years. Anything I'm missing there, Blood? Any other competitors, or are we approaching EA racing domination in this gen?
I mean, and like I said, I was talking about the lack of studios, and there's still a lot of other small studios, in the UK and around the world, but it's just in terms of like the scale of like these really big budget racing games.
Right.
It feels like it's getting less and less, right? Like Midnight Club is a thing of the past. Project Gotham is a thing of the past. There's just so many franchises. Burnout is a thing of the past. Like that have kind of gone by the wayside, and so it just feels like it just becomes this battle between like Forza Horizon, Gran Turismo, and Dirt, So,
yeah.
And Need for Speed, although Need for Speed has not really been keeping up on the quality bar. So
now Take-Two has been shamed, and now they gotta limp back and accept their loss, but they still own Midnight Club. Darn it!
I loved Midnight Club.
Do you think Take-Two is after racing money, or were they after good racing games? Do you think that's something that was on the table for them that they were interested in? Could they, rejuvenate, Smuggler's Run or Midnight Club, any of these franchises that they have, or are they just going to take the loss?
If they actually like came in and like outbid EA or something?
Oh no, meaning if EA is going to take that, do you think that they wanted to have a forward momentum in the racing genre, and they might be like, well, if we can't do that, then let's just put money into the properties that we already own, see if we can compete?
I would guess that I think there's just like this is all just money talk, like this is all just business stuff. So I think because Codemasters has made all these acquisitions and have gotten, this collection of studios under their belt, then, they probably went seeking buyers. It feels like, like I don't really know the behind the scenes of what's going on, but it sort of feels like, okay, we've made these investments and now it's time to find someone who's willing to, take this off our hands essentially, and cash in. So yeah, I feel like if Take-Two had gotten them, my perception would be that it would have been more like how they have Private Division. Private Division is sort of doing its own thing, and it's sort of pseudo indie publishing, like not super small projects, but smaller things like the Outer Worlds. But then having that Take-Two money to market it. I think that same sort of thing might have been on the docket with Codemasters, where like they would own Codemasters, but they would still essentially have Codemasters just do what they're already doing, and then maybe throw something like Midnight Club to the former Evolution team. But I don't know what EA is going to do. I don't really know what Take-Two would have done with it, but we'll see.
Is F1 like FIFA, like a seasonal thing? Are we going to get a new F1 next year?
F1's every year. That's the clockwork. You have to have the new season in there. Yeah, you have to have the, because they change up the tracks, every season. So you have to put in the new tracks every year. You have to have the new drivers and all that stuff. And they do some other things as well, but it is one of those things where they really have to plot out in advance, like to match basically people playing through the season and able to follow the season along. Well,
there's something else they can do at EA Play. That would have spiced up EA Play just a little bit, wouldn't it, Brad, when we went, just to have, because every EA Play is just a little bit less than I was expecting. Just not a lot of, like, come to this big festival of just a handful of games. But it'll be interesting having a F1 montage in an EA press conference. So if F1's got to be every year, with just the way that EA operates, might it be a while before we hear from Dirt Grid or Project Cars again?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious what all of those different teams will end up doing, I really do think that Dirt Rally at some point will just morph into their WRC game.
Ah, okay.
But then like mainline Dirt, I think is the safest in terms of continuing. I think that's a big enough brand. I don't know that Project Cars will. Like Project Cars 3 already kind of like changed the direction of the series pretty drastically, and I'm not sure that it got a lot of attention. I've always thought it was a weird name that they never actually renamed that thing
Project
once they were
Cars,
finally
yeah.
ready to release it.
Project Cars had some hiccups too, right? Like, didn't that first game launch with some issues, or wasn't fully featured at launch or something?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the first game was more simulation than game in a way, to where it was just like you can set up whatever you want to do, but there wasn't necessarily like a career to guide you through it. In terms of like the robustness of what people typically expect, and it was very much made for PC players at that point too. And then Grid, I don't know. Grid, I feel like is also kind of one of those things where like it does well enough for Codemasters, but I don't know if it's a big enough brand for EA.
I bet no.
I don't think so.
I don't know why.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna remain just a little bit pessimistic. Hopeful, obviously, for these wonderful people that get to do what they love, but pessimistic for EA, at least quickly. I could see this something that, like, because it's just going to be the easy answer. If this acquisition goes through, E3 comes around, and, we all have to speculate or make our videos. We're like, so, EA press conference, what do we think? Well, they did acquire Codemasters, and then we get to the press conference, nothing. It's just like, yeah, F1, but, I mean, that game was already in development when they picked it up, most likely, but we will see. Good news.
Oh?
Oh, yes. Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony all simultaneously posted a shared commitment to safer gaming.
Okay.
Cool.
So we all.
What's that mean?
What's that mean? It means they're committed to safer gaming.
Don't ask. They're going to be safer.
It means myself and everybody, obviously, on this podcast feels a lot safer now. Safer about playing games, safer about talking about games.
I did think my PS5 was looking at me the other day, like giving me like a side eye,
Maybe it was upside down. This arrived simultaneously from all three companies at the same time, so all of them signed off on this. All of them posted it individually. It was a copy-paste job. But it's interesting. You talked about mental health a little bit back. I'm curious to go through this and see if... let's play a game. Stop me if any of this sounds way too good to be true. Just be like, wait, hold on. Pump the brakes. I don't know. Because a lot of this is like, oh, we're going to do this. That's great from these companies. We'll see. Maybe some of these you believe Microsoft, Nintendo, or Sony would be, responsible enough to do this. There are 3 tent poles of this commitment: prevention, partnership, and responsibility. Prevention.
Really hoping for a third P there.
I know. What could responsibility have been? What's a P word for responsibility? I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
They should have said personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Responsibility.
Doug Bowser himself will be held responsible.
Yeah.
There's got to be a word for that. I'm going to look at thesaurus.com.
Nice.
Not a
Please
sponsor.
cue that up, and then I will message all 3 of them at the same time. Prevention to them means empower players and parents to understand and control gaming experiences, because that's what all the kids want, for their parents to control their gaming experiences. We let
Pledge
players...
is the only P word.
Okay.
So it doesn't
Prevention, partnership, and pledge. Well, all of this is a pledge. We let players customize their gaming experience. We support parents with the tools necessary to create appropriate experiences for their children. I condensed the language a little bit, by the way. Some of these ran on a bit. We recognize that for safety features to be useful, they must be easy to use. We continually inform our players through codes of conduct, terms of use, and enforcement practices. We continually inform our players? You feel good about that one?
I haven't been informed of anything ever.
Nintendo informs a little too much. Nintendo likes to bother you
that's
while you're
true.
playing and stop you. Like, maybe you should go outside. Maybe you
Yeah,
should wear a
you
restraint.
shut
do
up,
that
Nintendo.
anymore.
Maybe you're playing a little bit too much. We like that you're playing Ring Fit Adventure, but you've been playing it for 5 hours. Please stop. We invest in technology to help thwart improper conduct and content before a player is subject to harm.
Pre-crime?
Yeah.
They got pre-cogs?
Well, there's 3 companies. There's the Microsoft cog, the Nintendo cog,
Yeah.
and the Sony cog.
Which one of them has the Minority Report? Get this umbrella. I love that.
I mean, I'm calling bull crap on at least this
Yeah,
one.
I'm sorry. Read that one more time.
Well, it's a safe answer too, because it says we invest in technology to help thwart improper. Doesn't say how much they invest. Doesn't say what that technology is to help thwart improper conduct and content before a player is subject to harm. So.
I mean, I guess like just putting things in place that make it harder to hack your account or whatever.
Right.
Like they should be doing that anyway. Like, yeah.
I feel like it's going to be a half step all around, whatever they're saying.
Well, and it's so
Maybe
nebulous.
a little.
Well, it's like
Yeah,
some
it's
of the stuff is
very,
like,
yeah.
We're doing this anyway, but
Yeah.
now we're telling you about it.
We're saying we're going to do what we should have been doing all along.
That's the first one I thought was just a tad spicy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna label these in red just for fun. Partnership. Partner with the industry, regulators, law enforcement, and community to advance safety. The industry's commitment to safety is central.
What the hell is that? Like, what the hell are you going to do? Is your game going to call the cops on you or something?
Yeah.
Also, like, which kind of safety are we talking about? I'm still unclear on that. Like, financial safety, like people calling me bad words safety, harassment.
Financial safety? They'll make games cheaper for us.
That's kind of.
But I mean, like,
yeah.
your account being hacked is what I mean.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
We're getting into that a little bit. We have an opportunity to collaborate for the benefit of the industry to offer a safer gaming experience. Again, blah, 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 blah. We work with trade orgs, members, regulators, law enforcement, and experts to develop initiatives.
To develop
It's the same thing with spending money. It's
initiatives.
like,
Okay.
no examples, but
Developing initiatives is like thinking about thinking about.
it's
Yeah.
Because an initiative is the thing to start trying to
Right.
do the thing.
Yeah. It's like, what? You're saying nothing.
is my favorite business buzzword on the list. We commit to conducting shared research for the benefit of the industry.
Okay.
All right.
Hate and harassment of younger players has no place in gaming.
Younger players?
But once you're 15,
Yeah.
you're fucked.
Get out of the house.
Yeah. Quit being a little crybaby.
Yeah.
Again, it's a nice sentiment. I'm not sure how. Might want to, of all of these, I might want to flag these two of these that I flagged so far that like might want to hit the gas on those. And we partner with ratings agencies, the ESRB and PEGI, to ensure games are rated for the appropriate audience. That, of course, they do. And finally, pledging, aka responsibility. Hold ourselves accountable for making our platforms as safe as possible. We make it easy for players to report violations of our code of conduct.
How have they made that easier?
Easy or easy?
Oh.
Compared
Yeah,
to,
they can actually do anything about it?
compared to what else I don't know.
Compared to what? The bubonic plague?
But in addition to removing content,
Shut up, computer, stop.
what?
What's
Somehow
happening?
that woke up my Echo
right?
Dot.
You okay? Are you safe?
She started telling me about the bubonic plague. I don't know.
Anything you want to share? Any interesting factoids?
She loves No Country for Old Men.
Nice. In addition to removing content, we take appropriate enforcement actions for violations. Isn't that good to know?
Wait,
In addition
involving
to
law enforcement?
in addition to removing content, we take appropriate enforcement actions for violations
Oh.
of code of conduct. So if something happens, they take appropriate action.
They're going to
This
bust
is
people
all
for
very-
playing PT.
It's good to know. But now it's really starting, I think, to get a little questionable. We want to.
Well, it's
If they
just
said
so
we want
vague.
to, I'd be like, I respect that. It can be a hard thing, but to be like, we've spent all of 2020 doing this like gangbusters. We comply with all local laws and will respond to all lawful requests from law enforcement. That I believe. We publish our rules and ensure reported players understand the rules. I don't know how they can
With 20 pages of text that no one's going to read.
ensure
Right.
that. Yeah.
They said reported players.
Right. And ensure. So if they reach out to reported players and they say this, and reported players are like, I don't get it. They got to commit. They're like, we are not going to leave you alone until we ensure.
No, it's just going to be...
Yeah, you
They're going to go
understand
strike. It's going to be like DMCA strikes and YouTube strikes all over again. Players are going to be getting strikes now.
There we go. That is the shared commitment to safer gaming. Are we missing
I
anything?
mean-
Is there anything on the list that these companies should maybe focus on if they want people to feel
I mean,
safer?
it's
The
it's
whole
never
gaming
gonna
experience.
be it's never gonna be bad to have like language like this. At least is saying that like at the very least it's on their radar. At worst, cynically, it's just like lip service and they're not whatever. Or they're just like trying to drum up PR for things they were kind of already doing anyway. Because the language is so vague that it makes you wonder, like, okay, right, but like how though? Like, but why? Like, how are you doing that? Like, how are you going to make things safer for younger players? Like, how are you curbing harassment? Like, how are you going to do that? Like, realistically, because it seems impossible.
Yeah.
I think you brought up a really good point, actually, Ian, with saying what does safe gaming mean? Like, what are they actually kind of specifically referring to? Do you feel
this is lawyer speak all over the place, where it's like,
oh, totally.
Well, we covered it in our guidelines for safety. It's because we were so broad that we covered everything.
That's my other question. Blood, will this hold up in court? Can I print this out and come running in and being like, wait a minute, I know,
you made a commitment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it's weird because I feel like this doesn't necessarily mean like, it doesn't sound like they're doing anything drastically different than what they're doing already. It just sounds more like they're all going to get on the same page. They're going to have some group of people within these three companies that are going to communicate and say, hey, let's try to set the same bar. Let's try to set the same standards so that, people know this stuff isn't acceptable, whether they're on Xbox or Nintendo or Sony. Like, these... we're going to set the same lines so that it's not, you can get away with one thing over here and over there it's, a problem. And so I think that's probably the most takeaway I can get out of this is that they're coordinating to.
And that's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like consistency in this kind of regulation or whatever you want to call it is good. Because, less confusing, more consistent.
Especially with something like parental controls. You know, if you get a system and you've got to figure out the parental controls, it would help if you go into another system and you're essentially working with the same language, right?
Well, and the kind of stuff that I think the real big, if all three, because this is Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the highest potential upswing in this is that if this includes things like accessibility, which again I'm not entirely clear that it does.
I don't think it does. Yeah, I think it's more harassment and fraud and unwanted spam and.
Well, that's too bad because that's a commitment I'd like to see all three join up on, because in cases like that where Nintendo lags behind, the other two could kind of shore it up by being a good example. And I mean, Nintendo, as far as like safety for younger players goes, is probably safer than Sony and Microsoft. But some of their measures for that are a little draconian, like no voice chat.
I was going to say, no one's using voice chat, that's why.
Right, it's because it doesn't exist, and that's why it's safer. But yeah, it's interesting.
Like, when I personally have never endured this, but I see a lot of people and they'll be like talking with a customer service representative via text. They'll be just like chatting with them. And sometimes you wonder, like, am I speaking to a human being or am I talking to a computer? Because the responses can be a bit canned. I feel like they just printed out that script. Like these are all the potential entries that you could get if you complain about any of these things. They'll try to sound like a human being by being like, we hold ourselves accountable for making our platforms as safe as possible. It's like, I don't believe you, Xbox. And like, look, we publish our rules and ensure reported players understand the rules. Like, I'm done with this. You're not a human being.
Well, and also like language like ensure people understand the rules. Like one of you said, like, what are they going to do? Have a counselor on the phone to ensure that you understand? Like, ensuring that someone understands something is difficult.
Yeah.
But having someone click accept on the bottom of a 10-page document, legally, you've ensured that someone understands something because the language starts with "I understand that." So yeah, it's nebulous.
And I totally think accessibility is involved in this because they said under the partnership flag, we commit to conducting shared research for the benefit of the industry. I mean, obviously, accessibility is included in that. That's a massive net. That's going to catch a lot of things. Sorry to be
benefit
skeptical
of the
about that.
industry.
I'm sure some lawyers worked really, really hard on that. Mm-hmm.
Lawyers are people too.
It's just an easy thing. If Xbox had posted it, I wouldn't have said anything. The fact that all three of them did, I thought that was, they're scheduling the tweets. Remember, 8 p.m.
I mean, cynicism
Central
aside,
Time.
like, I hope it's good.
We want
that
these
they're
things.
Sincere and, yeah.
Well, remember when
certainly a
when
wish
Switch
list.
came out? What that they had like the Bowser with his kids
Parental
thing?
controls,
Oh yeah, I remember
a
that.
little video.
Last week, I specifically covered the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. This week, I will continue to cover the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. Not just because these things need to still be made, known about all the issues and weird stories that are surrounding the launch of this game, but because a lot of crazy stuff has happened since.
Well, it almost feels like it hasn't launched yet. It's
Right.
like, it's not ready.
How we do, Brad? You weren't here last week. How are you? Have you had an experience with Cyberpunk so far?
I haven't had anything too disastrous. I had a couple parts where I had to reload, and like maybe some goofy people in the world, but nothing too damning.
But you've been playing a bunch. Do you think it makes up the most of your game time right now? Is it
Yeah, that's
a big
all I've been
priority?
really playing. Yeah.
And you're on PC?
Yeah, I'm 22 hours in, and I haven't had any far game breaking stuff.
Yeah, we're all
Just,
playing on
like,
PC, which is the best version. So
Yeah.
we've been probably avoiding a lot of the console woes out there.
Xbox
I
Series
know
X, baby.
Omar's been playing
it's
on his
fine.
PS5, and it crashes.
That's what I've heard.
a lot.
Yeah, a lot of
Like,
crashes.
He
Wow.
says that he basically can't go like an hour and a
wow.
half without it just
That
crashing.
is a bummer.
Maybe it's longer now. He said that the patch had updated it a little bit, and I was actually sitting next to him. He's like, "Yeah, the patch must have fixed it because it hasn't crashed yet." And literally, like 4 minutes later, it crashed.
It's yeah.
That's
It's tough because the PlayStation 5 has been crashing a lot on a lot of games.
It crashed like 7 times while I was playing Demon's Souls.
Yeah, so it's
yeah.
And Miles Morales, it's crashed like 3 times. I'm not even like I'm barely an hour into that game because it keeps crashing.
so you put the two together and it's just like Crash City.
Disaster. Yeah.
Yeah. So
A
weird.
buggy game on a buggy console is not a good mix. Two wrongs don't make a right. And admittedly, I have not had a lot of issues on Series X, but I have not played a ton of that game. Anybody own stock in CD Projekt Red? Anybody on this panel?
No,
No,
I
not-
don't
Not to my knowledge.
think that's a good idea for us to
Is
install
it a
video
bad
game
idea?
companies.
Yeah, I wonder. I remember talking to an investor one time. It was right after, I think it was WoW Apocalypse. What was it called? Where they changed the map. What was the one after Lich King?
Cataclysm.
Cataclysm. And the Blizzard stock went up. And I remember talking to somebody and I was like, oh yeah. And they were like, yeah, Blizzard, do you own Blizzard? And I was like, no, I don't own any video game stock. And they were like, oh, well, it went up. And I'm like, well, that's because Cataclysm came out. And the guy was like, wait, did you know that was going to happen? Like, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I knew that was
You
coming.
can, these companies let you know before these things launch.
I have breaking news. Apparently, Cyberpunk was removed from the PlayStation Store
Whoa.
for now. You
Even
might want
for
to investigate it
PS5s?
for PlayStation on PSN.
Whoa.
Whoa. I
Polygon
yeah.
just reported it. Yep.
Yeah,
Hold on.
there it is.
on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4?
I mean, it's
Well,
just the PSN.
It's only
so-
PlayStation 4 that it's out on.
It's a PS5
Yeah,
It's the
version.
PS4
So-
version. Wow.
I wonder if people who have it already can still.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Sony will offer refunds, and they're pulling the game from PlayStation Store.
No option to purchase.
SIE strives to ensure a high level of customer satisfaction. Therefore, we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who purchase Cyberpunk 2077 via PlayStation Store. SIE will also be removing Cyberpunk 2077 from PlayStation Store until further notice. Once we have confirmed that you purchased Cyberpunk 2077 via PlayStation Store, we will begin processing your refund. Please note the completion of the refund may vary based on your payment method and financial institution.
Wow.
Breaking
Damn,
news on
dude.
Easy Hours podcast. I'm getting tingles.
Well, and this is Sony Entertainment.
Yeah.
That's Sony talking, not
Sony
CD
Interactive
Projekt.
Entertainment, yeah.
And we
Yeah.
can jump to that. There was a little bit of a ping pong match, which is a fascinating update to that, which is, CD Projekt Red issued an apology. They're, in beautiful yellow color. And they said...
I hate that. Stop the black on yellow.
And they
terrible.
said, of course, we'll have refunds. So a lot of PlayStation owners were like, great. And they went to Sony. And Sony was like, well, it's sticky.
Yeah, their
it's a
refund
whole
policy is
refund
really
thing
weird.
So this
Like,
is
you
boy.
already downloaded it, and I'm like, what? that's the bar that you've downloaded it.
That's it. Have you been past the title screen? Well, so that is a pretty drastic correction.
That's
there.
huge.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I
yeah.
can't think of any big, huge games that have ever done that. They're just like,
Yeah.
nah, taking it
Yeah.
off.
Cyberpunk getting the PT treatment. Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Pour one out.
but it shouldn't have. Like, we were talking earlier about like the impact of these things, and it's like, speaking of stocks, I read earlier today that the 4 owners of CD Projekt Red lost like, I don't want to misquote. It was like 1 or 3 or something billion dollars in stocks.
The stock has been falling since December 4th, dropped around 30%. It's creeping back up. I don't know if being pulled from the PlayStation Store is going to help
Probably
with
not
that
gonna help.
trajectory.
Nah, ain't
Yeah.
gonna
But it's
But,
just
yeah,
wild that
stock
like
was taking a hit
they're-
and then more hits and then more hits.
they made their money back with pre-sales alone, and yet because of the bugs and the outcry, the stock price still tanked. And it's
Yeah.
like I do wonder if they're still financially ahead just because of PC, or if this is really gonna tank it or what.
Yeah, I don't know what
But,
financially ahead means when you talk about stock prices. It's all like
Or
another
just
world
like,
to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Made their money.
Well, I mean, it's the difference. I mean, boy, am I getting a correction on this one. I talked about research papers a couple weeks ago, and a bunch of doctors came out and slapped me. I can't wait for stockbrokers to be like, shut up. But it's a question of value versus currency. When people,
Right.
when I give you money to buy a game, that's money that we got. That's money in the bank.
Right.
Where you talk about stock, it's like that. That was
It's your market
theoretical money that I
valuation.
had that I
Yeah.
don't have value on anymore. Employees are working out, doing a little bit better though. They're apparently going to get their full bonuses instead of ones being based on the game's Metacritic score.
Yeah, that feels like 5-10 years ago. Like,
I was gonna
what do
say
you-
that when I heard
people are
that, I was
still
like,
doing
"What?"
this?
Yeah, I
I'm
was
seeing a
so
lot of
shocked.
sentiment online, Blood. A lot of people are like, yeah, what? That's welcome to video games. It's like,
Yeah, I guess that's how it is, but
especially for a game that high profile, for one of the most anticipated
Damn, it's
games of
crazy.
the year, like that's kind of how it rolls. But boy, does that suck. Certainly good for them, obviously, this news, but my God, there's so many factors completely outside of development. If you're working on a game and you just see advertising just completely tanking any prospects that you have, or, in the case of like a Skullgirls, having just some jerk on your staff who's just like giving you press for all the wrong reasons, or yeah, that might be a realistic thing, but that's lousy.
All right, but well, I was the other half of what I was going to say before. I forgot is like, one wonders with the delays that Cyberpunk had already seen. Like, if Cyberpunk had staggered with the release, like let's say they'd come out on PS or on PC, not come out on consoles, would that outrage have outweighed this debacle? And I almost think at this rate it would not have. Like, I think that just not coming out on consoles would have been better for them.
Right.
It would have pissed people off, but it would have been better than this, probably.
would have saved him headaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not unprecedented. There's plenty of games that still come out
Right.
on PC
Lots
first.
of games
yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they had shown, like, if they had just been honest about it, if they had just shown any part of the PS4 or base Xbox One game, they could have just been like, put out a video like, look, hey, we're super sorry, but I mean, look at this.
Is what
we
it is.
can't.
Yeah.
But
We need more time on
That's
this
what's crazy,
version.
though. They plead ignorance.
Yeah.
They're like,
right.
oh,
Ian,
yeah, we didn't know. Was this
no,
bad?
Ian,
like,
no,
what?
they were working on it. Ian, they were working real hard. They had an emergency board meeting, which is hilarious. A lot of interesting things. A lot of people. It's fun to see. Like, it's one thing for us in a silly podcast to be like, "How dare you, CD Projekt Red?" It's something for like, stockholders and board members to be like, "What the hell?" Like, this is. My kids are making fun of me. Damn it. Quote from CD Projekt Red. We've shown console footage, but never on the last-gen consoles. The reason is that we were updating the game on last-gen consoles until the very last minute, and we thought we'd make it in time. Unfortunately, this resulted in giving it to reviewers just one day before release, which was definitely too late, and the media didn't get a chance to review it properly. I love that the 5 days we had apparently was enough. That was not intended.
Which was still like pre-patch and everything. It was
Right.
garbage too.
That was not intended. We were just fixing the game until the very last moment. Like, no one does that. Like, nobody fixes games until their absolute last opportunity. And this game that I'm seeing footage of online, they were playing that a week before launch, and they were like, I don't know. I think we can make it. I think
We can work this out.
Yeah.
They're like.
It's like Keanu
they're like
Reeves doesn't look like Keanu Reeves. We might have a problem.
Yeah.
We're good.
He looks like a square with arms. It's like they're drunken high college students who haven't started their like 30-page research paper and it's the night before it's due. And they're just like, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'll double space it.
Yeah, apparently the dog ate CDPR's homework for this video game.
Blood, I have a question for Blood. So, Blood, we've been following this company for a long time. You know, we were big fans of Witcher series. And I always had this impression or this picture of CD Projekt as one of those devs who would, you know, they're not afraid to hold off to make sure the game's right when it comes out kind of thing. Like, Witcher 3 had some problems when it came out, but I don't recall it ever being, like, nearly this bad.
Right.
It was pretty bad on PlayStation.
It has
I mean,
issues,
yeah, but
you know, like the
Not
swap
that
was
bad.
really
Not
bad
that
frame
bad.
rate,
Yeah,
and
no,
I
it
had
wasn't
people
like-
stuck in walls and stuff.
Exactly,
but-
yeah. It wasn't this bad. It just seems so weird to me now that this is kind of where they're at right now. Like, how did we come here? How did this happen?
Right. Well, I did see somebody like peg them going on the stock market as being a problem. To, you know, to where like
Yeah,
they're trying to please investors now, and they weren't when Witcher 3 came out.
you're
Yeah.
damn stuck.
But yeah, it is really such a turnaround to where like all the talk and marketing around when the Witcher games came out was all about, you know, we're not going to do what these other companies do, and you know, and we're here for the players and all the things that you get annoyed with RPGs, you know, we're annoyed with too, and so yeah, it's such a strange turnaround. I think, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I do think that the work from home situation is definitely has a lot to do with exacerbating this problem, because again, it's like like as stupid as it sounds, like I almost half buy into the idea that they didn't know, because if you're not able to walk through the office and look at this PlayStation build and be like, yo, what's going on over here? And you're spending so much time just focused on the high
It's like-
end.
But I mean,
Q,
that
like
speaks
QA
to,
testers knew about this. Like,
Right.
there's
Right.
no way people weren't informed about this.
and that
But does that
speaks
get to
a
the people that
different-
need to make the decisions?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but that's a huge problem.
That is a problem, yeah.
Either people are too afraid to speak up, or they're just not listened to. Like either way, it's a huge problem. And like, this is like the poster child. Like everyone's been on him about crunch and stuff, and it's like, how do you delay your game 7 times and crunch as much as they have and still release this like insane broken game? Like even on PC, it barely works. Well, I wouldn't say barely works. I've actually had not that many problems, but like even in the first couple of weeks, they've released patches that have improved performance, and it's still not perfect. Like last I checked, it only uses half of AMD Ryzen
Right.
processor cores, and that's what I've got, a real good one, and it's not using them. And so when I drive my Akira motorcycle, the frame rate dips, and it's just kind of irritating.
That
'cause
ain't
it's
right.
like I've got like the second best
That ain't right.
processor on the market, and my frame rate's dipping when I get on my damn Akira motorcycle. Come on, like
When it crosses into
But I mean,
anime
that's-
territory, that's when we,
Yeah, right.
that's when we get our
that's
damn
the
pitchforks.
last straw. But no, but it's crazy though, and it's like, it just goes back to the thing we always talk about, where it's just like the video game industry is like sick. It needs there needs
yeah.
to be something done, because
I-
like with all the crunch and all the delays and like forcing games out, like I just tried to look up when CD Projekt Red's fiscal year ends to see if like going on the stock market was why they pushed it out this year and didn't wait until March. Like, because if their fiscal year ends in March, putting it out in another 2 months would have pissed people off, but it, you know, still fiscal year. So it's just like, this game shouldn't be out.
I normally like to see both sides of the coin. I am brand manager. I am definitely, you know, pro business in a lot of ways. This might be the dumbest thing I've ever seen a big company do in 2020. And there's some dumb things that happened this year. Just releasing that game. And I have not played this game, but you know, I've not played this game on PlayStation 4. I mean, I'm playing the Xbox One version on Series X, but
It's
yeah.
But
like
in like,
it's giving
I-
me Fallout
if-
76 vibes,
if
and
we
you don't
didn't-
want that.
right.
Like, I don't think the game's nearly as bad as Fallout 76 as a
Right.
game, but I'm getting the same vibe.
Well, but it's just, it begs the question, man. Like, who does this benefit? Like, they're review score a week ago was like Metacritic average 90 something, 92 maybe, something like that, 90. Now it's 82.
I think
last
87
I
last I checked. Is it to 82 now?
I checked the other night on OpenCritic.com and it was like 82.
Oh.
And like
That's the Ben Moore effect.
gave it a 7.5.
87 on Metacritic.
Okay, well OpenCritic has it lower than last I checked, but like regardless though, it's dropped a few points, right? And
yeah.
it's just
PS4
like
is 54.
yeah.
Xbox
And
is 55.
But it's just like, okay, so now they've had to recall it off of PSN.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's pissed. Even PC users aren't thrilled.
Right.
So it's just like, this didn't benefit the consumer. The stockholders can't be thrilled with that 300 billion whatever drop. And it's just like, rushing this out didn't serve anybody. So, like, what's the logic? And where did it fall apart? Like, where did someone not say, this isn't ready yet? Like,
well, it's like you were
everything else.
It's like you were saying earlier.
Who's
where
forcing it?
so many games, potentially every game is released, with developers knowing like this
Not
is absolutely
ready.
not in a finished state, but we're just going to do the best we can. And so like they are all a gamble. They're all a risk. They're rolling the dice every single time. And this is just like you crapped out. You should have left the table, or you should have gone back to your hotel room and come back the next day.
And I mean, there are things to be said about the nature of creative art where like, depending on the creator, like many people never feel finished with a creative work. And also when it comes to technological artworks, like video games or apps or whatever, you can't often test everything until they're at scale.
Right.
But still, like some of these seem so glaring.
Mm-hmm.
It's like maybe CD Projekt Red needs to introduce like worse computers into their QA stream, just so they have like other, like play it on a base PS4. Yeah. I've
never seen a generational discrepancy like this in my entire life. I've never seen from one system to another. It's not really a generational thing. I'm assuming PC performance is somewhat indicative of what this stuff is going to look like on PS5 and Series X when we get those versions.
Well, Omar playing the PS4 one on PS5, like I was sitting and watching him play it on a 4K TV and it looked pretty decent. Like it didn't look as my monitor is
right
3000 by 1080, so it's not really 4K, but like it didn't have ray tracing out there, but it looked like decent,
Mm-hmm.
But base PS4 is with multi-gen stuff, even just PS4 to PS4 Pro has gone from like sad to now unplayable. Like I think once you hit unplayable, I wonder if Ubisoft is like, like maybe we were planning on releasing the next Assassin's Creed also on old gen systems, in fall of 2021, but maybe we shouldn't, even if it does run well, even if we put in all of that work and all of that money. This damn company has burnt all of the goodwill that you could potentially have.
I don't know about that. I mean, like they put
I don't know either.
Creed 3 out on Switch and all that kind of thing, and it's like
Sure.
this looks terrible, but it's there,
Yeah.
And we talked about Witcher 3 on Switch, last week, and like a lot of people in the comments were like, "I would kill for Witcher 3 on Switch right now," playing what I'm playing on PS4 and Xbox One. So I do not want to downplay that at all for people that
it's funny because
are dealing with refunds and just really even wanting to play this game, even looking at Night City and being like, this looks terrible, but I still want to play it. I just can't. I literally can't. It's not letting me. It's not working.
I wish I could remember what game this was, because I remember there are a few examples of this, I think, that the current gen was being made by like proper in-house studio, and the past gen one was being made by like an adjunct division or company.
Mm-hmm.
This has happened a few times in the gaming industry, and like maybe we'll see more of that. But also, and I know this won't help people who don't have good internet, but I mean, like, maybe the solution for past like PS4 compatibility stuff is the cloud. Like, xCloud it onto your Xbox One X, and then it's fine.
Well,
like,
it's funny
and
that you
apparently
mentioned the
on
cloud
Stadia,
again.
it's fine.
You said the magic word.
The first game in history that runs okay on Stadia, ironically,
Stadia
can't run on anything else.
Stadia took a win this month on this, man. Like when the dust cleared, Stadia's like, I told you. You pointed out, who did they reply to on Twitter? They were like, you can play it on Stadia. Like they're trolling and jumping into people's mentions and stuff like on Twitter to be like,
but sounding so pathetic.
It's that meme of the guy at the party in the corner. He's like, nobody knows it runs well on Stadia.
Right.
Well, then people
are breaking their PS4s.
As we're saying, like it is weird because like on the other side of the coin, it's clear that in a lot of ways it is still an amazing game.
Oh, totally.
Especially from a technical perspective. And it's just a matter of it just not quite done yet. You know, when they're talking about these big patches coming in January and February, that's probably when the game will be sort of finished.
It's funny. They talk about patches like Division talked about DLC. They're like, coming in February. Patch 4.
Frame rates. Yeah.
But even like getting the
graphics.
Like there's a new NVIDIA driver that came out the other day, and like I feel like I've already seen improvement to just general performance, like frame rate and
There's a new NVIDIA
stuff.
driver?
What's that?
There's a new NVIDIA driver?
It was a couple days ago, wasn't it?
It came in with the Vulkan ray tracing stuff.
Hey, you want to talk about improvements coming to Cyberpunk 2077? There are now fewer dildos spawning in the game than ever before.
No, they're talking about doing that, but I don't think they've done it yet.
There
I'm
will
gonna start
be
a petition.
fewer dildos.
Keep all the dildos.
There should be dildo settings.
But did you see why, though, Ian? It's actually more than they were anticipating.
Yeah.
Too many.
I saw that it was spawning.
They're just
dildos.
spawning like
Spawning insane about a dildo.
What a
How
great
you said that
and
with a
things.
straight face, Blood. I have more respect for you than I
Yeah,
did.
clip it at home, viewers.
I would patch in a damn setting to turn off the news anchor voice on the freaking radio.
I have seen that,
because
yeah.
it's on every station. I just want music. If I'm on my sweet ass Akira motorcycle, I don't want to be listening to the same damn news blurb about fucking psycho drugs.
And what Ben mentioned, the people, the fixers calling you for stuff. They're just like, please let me shut these people up. I don't care. I will never care.
Yeah, well,
about
that's a
anything they're trying to
proximity
sell me."
thing in general.
that's if you're
if you
doing
go
that.
into the right district or you go by the right spot where a quest is. But
Still, it's a bit much.
The non-bug thing that bugs me is you can't really drive your car during the day in cockpit view because it like does the bloom thing as if you're indoors, and so like just the world is too bright.
Oh, really?
Right.
So I basically have to go to third-person view just to like be able to see what the heck I'm going.
I wonder if that's like a shader setting or like a RTX setting.
When it's at night, it's great. But
I always do third-person view for cars anyway.
yeah, I tend to do it more as well, just because you get to see more of the world that way.
And
My sweet ass Akira motorcycle, you know.
we didn't even talk about epilepsy, which was another fantastic chapter in the pitfall of this game.
What we talked about last week.
We talked about last week, but
Well, they've
the
addressed it
update this
more
week.
since.
Well, not only did they address it and have since fixed it, hopefully, Microsoft
different.
has promised to improve its certification process, because that was another big question where they were like, they were like, Sony, Microsoft, what the heck, what's going on with these console versions? What happened with this epilepsy thing? And they just constantly pointed the finger back at CDPR. And so it's nice that Microsoft is taking some responsibility there.
It did change. The brain dance thing is just one slow white pulse now.
yeah,
yeah.
it seems like they actually worked with the Game Informer writer to make that work. I'm actually really impressed by how quickly they did that. I thought
Yeah,
that was
that was
something that's going to come
I thought
a
it would
week
take
or
a
two
while.
from now. Yeah.
Blood, if you're CDPR and you're literally holding on to the first DLC patch, the DLC update, the DLC content for Cyberpunk 2077, do you release that in 2021? How long until you come back going, hey, consumers, put Cyberpunk on your list? Like right now, they're trying to appease people that already have owned this game. Like
Yeah,
there is
they'll-
DLC planned, and they had planned it for early 2021. That sounds like a bad idea.
Unless they make it free.
Yeah, I was gonna say you do
free.
it summer and you do the first one free
Yeah.
when
Like-
it's patched.
All the patches, first one free, sizable update. Like DLC.
I'm sure it'll be sizable if it's
you put
keeps in line with
Skellige
their
in
past
there.
trends.
Yeah.
Their DLC is usually really good.
At
so.
a card game. We'll see how that
Ooh,
affects
yeah.
their stock. Hopefully not
There
going
is
to be
no like mini game, is there? No future
Yeah.
like.
Not that
Gwent
I've
or
come
whatever.
across. No.
Oh man.
getting it to work. That's the minigame.
DLC.
Can you do like the
virtual
sex-
Gwent?
Can you do the sex BDs? Because like,
I don't know.
think so. I don't.
oh man,
DLC 1.
I would do them.
Yeah. I remember when I was like reading Ready Player One with friends, and they were all like, "God, this future sounds terrible." I'm like, I don't know. It sounds pretty cool.
I think what they meant was this future is terribly written.
Oh, but there. Okay, all right. Let's move on. Also, this week, Microsoft Flight Simulator released some fun numbers that I want to share with all of you.
Oh.
What's the we're talking about Metacritic. What's the Metacritic for Flight Simulator?
90
Do you think?
something.
92,
91.
93, 91.
After
Oh.
66 reviews, how much?
It's on my fantasy team.
Calculated by 10 by 10 kilometer tiles, what is the percentage of Earth that people have visited in this game?
The
30.
percentage of Earth?
Percentage of Earth calculated by 10 by 10 kilometer tiles.
It's probably like super, like 3%.
34%.
72.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's a lot.
Proud of gamers. Proud of you.
Good job.
Good job,
everyone.
gamers.
And what is the most popular destination?
Disneyland or New York.
I wish it was
Egypt?
true. New York City. Brad nailed it.
New York City.
2 million pilots, 50 million total flights, 3.5 billion total miles flown, or 19 round-trip flights from the Earth to the Sun.
At some point, I
7,000
gotta download that on my new machine. I haven't seen it yet.
7,000 pilots who have visited Asobo's office, 4,300 pilots who visited Microsoft's office, and 9,700,000 hours watched on Twitch. Well done. Wow. Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Those were fun numbers.
Watched.
Fall Guys, yeah.
There's a lot of those in the background, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Fall Guys is working on a feature to allow streamers to host private shows. Finally.
Yay.
Another thing that we were
private
waiting for, Sackboy: A
servers?
Big Adventure now is online multiplayer.
Oh, it's on.
Oh, yay.
Sweet.
I saw that patch. Their patch came today. I didn't know it was for that.
Nintendo held one last Indie World Showcase for 2020. Among Us is now on Switch, which seemed to be
Yep.
one of the bigger things they talked about. We did reactions to it if you want to check out our opinions.
That Grindstone game is actually pretty fun.
Cute.
Nice.
I've been playing it.
Funimation, and therefore anime, is now available on the Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
Fortnite has a limited time mode called The Spy Within that is totally Among Us. 83 million live streams of the Game Awards, 8.3 million viewers, up 83% from last year.
Wait, how is that all the same
Whoa.
number? How are they all 83?
83
That's
million live streams,
8.3.
8.3 million viewers. So 8.3 million people watched it, 83 million people, 83 million live streams. 8.3, I guess, watched it on the official channel, maybe?
Someone do the math
8.3
at home.
viewers.
There's a lot of 83s there. That's weird.
8.3.
Up 83%.
and
Yeah, how are those all
83%?
83? It was 83 mil. Okay, yeah, wait. 8.3 million. 8.3 million people watched it. 1.9 million watched it in 2014, very first year. That's
Wow.
That's
Wow.
more people
That's a
watching
lot
the Game
more
Awards.
people.
I
Yeah.
imagine a lot of those people just didn't even know it was going to happen or what date it was. But the chart, the most fantastic chart that he released was just showing those numbers. And like when you have the big, skyscraper that is the viewership, you can barely even see the numbers in 2014. So well done, Keely. Well done, Steam. It hit an all-time concurrent peak of 24,804,148 players.
Wow.
Not sure the exact date. That was just recently. The last record was 22 million this year, but that was back in March. So they almost hit 25 mil. Vin Diesel will be the president of creative convergence at Studio Wildcard. He's not just in Arc 2. He's creatively converging Arc 2,
Yeah.
which
Does
was
that
a
mean
fun
he's
little
in
detail
charge
we
of,
didn't
like,
know.
Spin-off
merging
projects?
the anime and the game?
I bet they gave him any title. He is working on the anime, and I
Yeah.
bet they gave him any title that he wanted.
Yeah.
They said something like he's played thousands of hours of Ark.
Thousands and
Yeah.
thousands.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's a lonely guy.
There's a Death Stranding cross Cyberpunk 2077 crossover. People thought that was going to be a little bit more than that because Kojima Productions
Yep.
was like, we're going to be teasing something tomorrow. Kojima Productions,
There's
don't do
also
that.
a wallpaper of Ludens.
Don't do that.
Brandon.
Don't do that anymore, Kojima. Just announce it. Just let us know.
Don't-
Because
yeah,
if-
don't do that, Kojima.
Kojima, if you say you're going to announce something, we're going to start freaking out. The Mortal Kombat movie arrives in theaters and on HBO Max on April 16th.
Cool.
GameStop got a batch of PS5s and Series XS's, and we're like, come on down. People that worked at
Oh.
GameStop, we're like, no.
Sure, that worked out great.
Yeah. AC Valhalla is XP boosts now. As someone who has been feverishly playing Valhalla, you super do not need those. I get a new level every 5 seconds in that game. They were not in the storefront at launch. They learned their lesson, but waited
They
a month
learned
and
that
then
lesson.
slipped those in
Yep.
there.
Yeah, learned the lesson to be more sleight of hand. What?
Yeah.
What lesson
Yeah.
is that?
But playing Odyssey, it's like, oh, you know what? I kind of like this boost because it was included in the version that I got. But you don't need it. You don't need it for Valhalla. It's not.
It's just funny. It's like, oh, reviewers complain about this. Okay, let's wait until the reviews have slowed down to a trickle. No more reviews. Okay, now we'll put it out.
That's not
Yep.
gonna, yeah, that boost is not going to help you get through that game, quote unquote, faster at all.
It's the opposite of what CD Projekt Red does.
Speaking of fun stocks, Sony, Nintendo, Capcom, and Koei Tecmo are the big winners in Japan of 2020. Devotion went on sale at GOG for a few hours and then was pulled. Remember Devotion? That was the game that
Yeah.
got in trouble in China.
Yep.
Steam was like, we don't want it. GOG's like, we want. No, we don't.
Yeah, CD Projekt stepping in it twice in the same week.
But didn't they take out the
They
because
did.
it was just the Winnie the Pooh
It's
reference?
tainted goods, unfortunately. Which you think
It
would
seems
work for a
strange
horror
that
game,
that
but
would taint
yeah.
it so hard, but yeah.
Daisuke Ichihara, director of Monster Hunter World Iceborne, has left Capcom. He's now at I'm guessing a consulting firm called I Love Computer Art. They work with a lot of companies in Japan, and he is stoked. He's apparently very, very excited to work at this company, so all good. Doug Bowser said the reason that they're pulling Mario games early is because it's a celebration.
All right, Doug. Okay, Doug.
Doug Bowser was
This
in a
was
very
very
lengthy
weird.
interview this week. I believe Polygon did it, and they answered nothing. I mean, he dodged
Yeah, of course.
better than Neo. He is the one. Iron Man can now bounce his Unibeam off of Cap's shield in Marvel's Avengers. Another win for Marvel's Avengers. It needs more. It sounds silly, but it needs more stupid stuff like that for people to be
I was like,
oh, that's
this
cute."
is a weird update to bring on the podcast.
They need some more
but-
goodwill. You could have said something
Why not?
in Slack, Brad.
What? It's your show. That's why I thought it made it in there, because it's your show.
All right. What did I say? There was something that I said did well, and Blood was like, "Get that the hell out of also this week."
I think it was
happened last
Avengers
week. It was also
also.
Avengers. Oh,
It was another Avengers
Kate,
thing.
Kate Bishop had good reviews. Blood was like, "Wah wah." And Herman Hulst, the head of PlayStation Studios, tweeted a video showing his cat smacking at bug snacks, and unfortunately, beneath his television, his PlayStation 5 was upside down. He then
That's funny.
took the tweet down, retweeted it with a cropped video.
That's really funny.
Herman Hulst.
You should just be like,
Stop it.
you should just be like, oh, it's so great. You can use it on either side. Don't worry
Stop
about
it.
it.
Yeah.
Wait, upside down vertically or on
It
a-
Must have been
Horizontally.
horizontal.
Yeah.
It had to be horizontal
it's
because
horizontal.
there's no way you could put it upside down
Yeah.
vertically.
Why does
Yeah.
it matter?
If anybody can prove you
wouldn't make a
can,
difference.
it's Herman Hulst. It matters to Herman Hulst. It is time for love and respect.
Love and respect.
So people comment in the past, they're like, I think people's lips were off in love and respect. They are every week because I time it so it sounds good. We're on Zoom.
Yeah.
It sounds bad when you actually sync everything up. So I slide everybody up to match me because I'm not pushing myself back. No way, no how.
We're just using a polymeter, Jones.
Oh. From Sage Mode Q. Greetings, allies. Over the last couple of weeks, the one thing you guys have been saying you really want to do during the holiday break is finally catch up on some games in your backlog from this year that you've wanted to play but just haven't had the time, aka Goaties. So my question is, what is one specific game, one, I don't want a list from y'all, I want that one game that each of the allies have had their eye on that they've really wanted to play this year but haven't had an opportunity and can't wait to really dig their teeth into during the holiday break. Love and respect to you all. Have a great Christmas and an even better New Year's.
Well, I definitely
is
have a
it?
lot more than one.
What's it? The first one. The first
We
one.
all do.
The first one, the number one, Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
Half-Life
Tsushima-
Alyx.
Tsushima's definitely mine.
feel very much a responsibility to play that game.
Yeah, that's mine too.
So,
Yep.
hopefully the old school Oculus will work well with that and
The
work well
Rift?
with my computer and all that. Yeah,
The Quest. Oh,
no,
wait.
the Rift.
No, you got
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's what I played it on. I didn't finish
Okay.
it, but that's great. Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks great on it.
So
It's a good
I'm planning to grab that guy out of the studio and do that.
Nice.
I don't really get a break, kind of, but Tsushima, I guess.
Nice.
Solid,
started it.
strong, passionate answer.
Very pretty. Very, very pretty.
Yeah.
Very pretty. The prettiest, according to the Game Awards. Mirko de Buell. Hello, allies. 8 and...
Did we get Brad?
Oh,
I
sorry.
said Half-Life Alyx
yeah,
too.
okay.
Okay, got
Oh,
it.
Mirko de Buell. Hello, allies. 8-bit and 16-bit indie games have been around for a while now and become a standard, with even demakes becoming a thing. But lately, I've been noticing a lot of PS1-style indie games popping up, embracing all the good parts and the bad ones about the PS1. So my question to you guys is, which modern game would you like to see get a PS1 demake of? Stay safe, love, and respect from Belgium, Mirko. From a Belgian.
A demake?
I would love to see Bloodborne PS1 graphics.
that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I've already gotten the 16-bit version.
Well, the problem is you need a game that doesn't need like super snappy gameplay. Like that's
Right.
why like fixed camera survival horror stuff works so well. For, like Murder House that Huber and I played on Easy Update a while back. Like that was awesome because it's like that kind
Right.
of thing.
Clock Tower on PS1 is pretty funny. Technically Clock Tower 2, but
Yeah, I was thinking like one of the RE games, like 7
So yeah,
or
Resident
something.
Evil 7 is what I was thinking.
that's a RE4. PS1.
Yeah.
That'd be terrific.
Or like Resident Evil Revelations, yeah, 1 and 2, like that would be really good too.
Lords of Shadow. Make it
Lords of
PS1
Shadow.
style. PS1 style.
They had the 264 games were kind of
Rough?
If you're hungry for that style in a Castlevania game, Brad, boy, have I got good news for you. There's 264 Castlevania games.
I know,
They're
I've
gonna be
played
right
them.
up your alley. Oof.
They're real rough.
I could see like a Fall Guys skin. That could be fun.
It's just a box.
That would be funny.
From Alexander Zirianov. Hello, allies. Let's play a quick game. For each pair of games, you'll need to guess which one has a faster world record speed run in the any percent category, which means finishing a game from a fresh save using any means necessary. Bonus points for a good guess of the world record time. All information was taken from speedrun.com on December 17th. Number 1, Dark Souls Remastered or Mortal Shell? Which one can you beat faster doing anything you please?
Shit.
Mortal
Dark
Shell's
Souls
way
Remastered
shorter.
or
I
Mortal
think
Shell?
Dark Souls.
maybe Dark Souls, maybe.
But yeah, because the glitchless run, you just skip to the door and fight Gwen, I think. So it's like 2 minutes.
Tis Dark Souls. 19 minutes and 44 seconds.
Yeah.
17 minutes past Ian's guess. I
don't know how I would get any of these numbers right.
I think Dark Souls is a good bet too because just more people have played it and
way
tested
more
that. I
people
would
running
imagine.
that game.
Number 2, Final Fantasy VI or The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, which is faster.
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, probably.
Yeah, I don't see how much you could skip of 6.
Apparently,
Unless they just break it, yeah.
40 something hours is my first playthrough. Apparently, you can skip 39 hours and 22 minutes because 38 minutes 10 seconds is the best score. 26
Wow.
minutes
Which game?
For Final Fantasy VI. 26 minutes 26 seconds and 867 milliseconds is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, giving it the win. That is the top score. Number 3, Assassin's Creed or Assassin's Creed Odyssey?
I
Which can you beat
Assassin's
faster?
No idea.
Creed, maybe?
No idea how to judge that.
Yeah, I don't know. Just gonna
Well,
guess.
I
Odyssey
feel
is
like
significantly larger
Odyssey's
than the
a big
original
old
Assassin's
game.
Creed. But that's why it's a good pick, because it's Odyssey. 3 hours and 18 minutes and 25 seconds compared to Assassin's Creed's 3 hours, 49 minutes and 37 seconds. Super Mario Sunshine or Uncharted: The Lost Legacy?
Oh.
What a weird pairing.
Yeah. One of them's definitely longer.
Lost
than the other.
Legacy-
I'm going to say maybe
super
Uncharted.
long.
If you could skip cutscenes.
I'm gonna say
Uncharted,
Sunshine.
the fastest Uncharted time is just 4 minutes faster than Super Mario Sunshine. Somebody beat Lost Legacy in 1 hour and 9 minutes and 40 seconds, and the fastest Sunshine completion is 1 hour, 13 minutes, 44 seconds. Celeste or Grand Theft Auto San Andreas?
That's.
I want to say
Come
Grand
on,
Theft
come on.
Auto
You-
because I think
It
it's
feels like it's got to be Grand Theft Auto.
It's got to be Grand Theft Auto. Why
Yeah.
else compare those two games?
yeah. Why
Somebody
else?
beat the San Andreas in 14 minutes and 57 seconds.
Wow.
You gotta
Whoa.
complete missions and stuff. I guess you don't. I guess
No, you just skip
you
a
just
lot of it.
skip
fool
'em.
the game into thinking you've done all that stuff. Fastest anyone was able to beat Celeste was 26 minutes, 56 seconds, and 955 milliseconds. I love the ones that mention milliseconds. Celeste definitely
Yeah.
seems like a millisecond kind of game. Dishonored or Doom, 2016.
Ooh.
What's quicker? Dishonored or Doom? Which is not
Great
in all
question.
caps.
I'm just going to say Dishonored, maybe.
I'm siding with Dishonored, but yeah, I feel like Dishonored might be more open-ended.
Feels like there's more things you could exploit in Dishonored,
Yeah.
Tis true.
which makes me think. Yeah,
but
it might
maybe
be
you
Doom,
can just skip
but-
stuff in Doom.
It's
I don't
true.
know.
But you
Yeah.
can apparently beat Doom faster. 20 minutes, 59 seconds, 95 milliseconds. Dishonored's fastest was 32 minutes, 29 seconds, and 460. Pretty close, though. Xenoblade Chronicles or Yakuza 5?
Oh my god.
Wow.
Yakuza.
I'm going to say Xenoblade.
Yakuza.
There was some huge skips. I wonder if they'll count those.
Xenoblade wins. I love that a lot of these are coming down to minutes, but you still have to go through at least 4 hours, 54 minutes, and 41 seconds of Xenoblade to finish that. And
Yeah.
Yakuza's 5 is 2 hours more, 6 hours, 7 minutes, and 6 seconds. Hotline Miami or Ori and the Blind Forest?
Oh. I'll just say
Ori.
Hotline Miami.
Hotline Miami.
14 minutes, 57
Damn.
seconds. Ori's 22 minutes, 34 seconds. Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, or Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon?
Far Cry 3.
Yeah, I'll say Far Cry.
Blood Dragon, yeah.
Amnesia: Machine for Pigs, 21 minutes.
Oh, it was Blood Dragon?
They were done with that.
Oh.
Far Cry 3 was 44 minutes at its fastest. And finally, Donkey Kong 64 or Shrek. No console listed. Don't know what Shrek, specifically the console they're mentioning.
Shrek, I
I think
guess.
that's PS1, right?
Yeah, Donkey Kong 64. 24 minutes, 30
Donkey
seconds.
Kong,
Shrek will take you all of 39 minutes, 8 seconds, which is thankfully shorter than the actual film.
That last level, dude.
That last level of Shrek, right?
Oh my
Shrek
god,
is one hell
yeah.
of a game, yeah.
30
There's
minutes
a funny
is that last
speed
level.
run of that.
I love that you said that last level, and we're referring to Shrek.
Yep.
The
We were there.
Awesome Games Done Quick Shrek playthrough is really funny.
From Samuel Smith. Hey, allies, since Cyberpunk is out and broken, my question is, what is the most broken game you have ever suffered through other than Cyberpunk? Did you make it to credits, or did you quit? The most
Sonic
broken
Boom.
game.
Rise of Lyric, easily.
Whoa.
I played some of Fallout 76 when it came out.
Me
It was
too.
pretty rough.
Yeah, I
Did not beat it.
Yeah.
go back and watch that game trailer's review if it's still out there, because holy crap, that is an incredibly broken game. That makes Cyberpunk look amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what it says about me, but I managed to avoid all that stuff. I think 13 was the most broken, not by a glitch, literally by the way the game is designed. I was just unable to finish 13. I was like, oh yeah, thanks. Bye, 13. Didn't save enough crossbow bolts. Should have known. It's like with King's Quest 2, you have to have some arrow, like to finish some puzzle, and you can just fire it anytime you want in the game. And like Amanda and her dad were like, oh, like, oh well. Got all the way to the end of the game, and it's like, and now fire your magical arrow.
Those adventure games aren't playing around, dude.
Some of those, yeah,
So
old
many of
adventure
them
games are
have
cruel.
just complete dead ends. Yeah.
It is time for bets. And by bets, I mean last week's bet. There is no bet for next week. Next week, we're recording 11 Respect podcast. We ain't doing anything after that. I actually got to go to the site and look this one up now. Last week's bet, the Cayo Perico heist launched in Grand Theft Auto Online on December 15th. I wanted to know when we recorded this week how many people were going to be watching Grand Theft Auto Online on Twitch. Let's take a peeky-roo. Quiet, Twitch. Dee. All right. It's that number. Daniel Bloodworth bet 130,000. Ian Hink bet 112,000. Michael Huber bet 65,000. I bet 115,000. The number of people watching Grand Theft Auto Online right now, technically Grand Theft Auto 5, 108,000, giving Ian Hink the win.
There it
Oh. Bow, bow, bow.
is. Even
Too
more
far
wins. Chalk it up.
Bringing by the decree of the moderator of this podcast, the final score of the Easy Allies podcast for 2020. Jovial Penguins, 21.
Touring the riot scene, gravely assessing the devastation, upstanding mayor stuff.
Astonished Scorpions, 18. There it is. Congrats, Jovial Penguins.
Thanks.
If I cared to it, I've had fireworks and balloons popping up on the podcast right now, but you know, we got another podcast to record for next week. But that's it, folks. That means next week's podcast, which we were going to record right now with these panelists, which will just be a Love and Respect episode. We'll have Ore Wars at the end of it, and I will do Ore Wars for the episode following that, which will go up on the last day of the year for early access. Everybody else is going to get that in 2022 So this is the last
21.
2021. What am I talking about?
2021.
You wish, John.
Yeah. If we had to suffer through this year, we can't skip next year. That's not how that works. And
We've still got 6 months more of this year, and then
So
we
right.
get 2021.
there will be at least one episode of Ore Wars, depending on when you get the podcast, in 2020. There we go. Let me tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. Hey, 2020 has been a bummer for a lot of people, but we are extremely grateful to still be around, to still be in operation, to still be playing games. Looking forward to Goaties. Stop by the studio to drop off some shelves, y'all. Got some shelves from my house that I didn't need anymore. So we got the office, has these nice black shelves in there, and got rid of our couch. Shout out to our couch, which was
The moldy
that's
couch?
gone. Yeah, it was in bad shape.
Moldy green room couch.
But we have been able to keep that studio. We've been able to pay that rent. We've been able to keep storage and all of our equipment and everything like that. We have used it on occasion, but this has been a challenging year. But it has been much less challenging for us because of our support on patreon.com/easyallies. So if you think to yourself, I like this podcast, I also like all the other stuff that they produce, I want them to keep doing that. The best way that you can go and support us, obviously, listening to this podcast, we appreciate it because we do have sponsorship. Our support on Twitch is appreciated. But the number one place that we are supported financially from our wonderful community, patreon.com/easyallies. And like I said, if you want to get 2 more podcasts other than this episode in 2020, you're going to want to get that early access and get that episode early. Let me make sure I'm not lying. Let me make sure I'm not lying to our wonderful listeners.
Don't lie to them.
I don't want to lie to people.
About what?
No. Even if you get early access, you're going to get that
That's
first.
the first.
New Year's Day. You'll get it on New Year's Day,
get it
though.
on
If you have early
New Year's
access
Day.
to this podcast, you get to kick off 2021 with the Easy Allies podcast on Friday, January 1st. And doesn't that sound jolly? All right. Before we finish this up, I want to specifically highlight the people at our shout-out tier. That is our top tier on patreon.com/easyallies. Ian, you are going to go first to shout out these wonderful people. I'm going second. Brad, you're going after me. And Bloodworth, you're going fourth. Shout out to Caleb Togi Crawford, El Thanos, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Jesse Blue, Stephen Thomason, and Nick. Shout out.
Shout
out.
Yes. Brad, you'd be so proud of Huber. He did it quietly last week. He did it quietly and poetically.
Oh, good.
Yeah, still had a lot of
You
passion
guys
there,
like,
but
you guys say something like that, it's like you were like, I'm his parent or something like that. Brad, you should be so proud of him.
let's put it this way. If this was the apocalypse or if we were like on a school trip, he's your buddy, okay? So like,
I know.
I'll grab Bloodworth.
He's your problem.
Okay, Ian, you grab Dawn. And we all have the
Yeah.
people that we're linked to. Ian, you won the bet. You get to finish up this podcast. You get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped into your head. And you get to sign off with your trademark sign-off.
Final word. I mean, kind of reiterating what you said about the Patreon pitch, but just thank you to everyone. It's been a scary year, and I know it's been scary for everybody. So we really appreciate that support and that we get to keep doing this. But yeah. Well, the video I want to pitch, there's an easy update coming out in 2 weeks. Watch that. But since that won't be out for a while, definitely watch the Dawn episode of Hunting Huber.
Oh, yeah.
It is bonkers. I loved it. Hunting Huber Season 2, tell your damn friends. Good night and good game.
Please note the completion of the refund may vary based on your payment method and financial institution.
And they're just like, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'll double space it.